Hello everyone and welcome to the Hunter Association, your source for all things Hunter x Hunter. My name is Kaige.
And my name is Dylan.
And on this week's episode we are talking about Isaac Netero.
Hell yeah. The legend himself.
Absolutely. I'm very excited about this one. As I was writing the the summary of his life this week, I kept getting chills as I was writing.
It's like a mythical being, I don't blame you.
He really is. Then, of course, we'll be going through our community comments. If you would like to join in on the community and have your comment read, be sure to comment on the YouTube version on the weekly community posts. Also, make sure to like and subscribe to help grow our community of Hunter x Hunter fans. Additionally, if you'd like to know when new episodes are live, click the bell to enable notifications. If you're an audio listener, make sure to rate, review, and comment on Spotify and Apple Podcasts. Also, be sure to follow us on Twitter at TXHXAPod, as well as Bluesky at THAPod, for podcast-related updates and to submit responses to the weekly call-out posts. If you'd like, you can also still email us at hunterassociationpod@gmail.com. As always, we provided timestamps in the description if you would like to skip ahead to any of the aforementioned segments.
On a related note, I want to apologize up front to all of your Twitter viewers / listeners to the podcast. I thought I sent the call-out post on Twitter this week, and turns out I didn't. This week has been a little hectic for me, so my bad on that.
For shame. For
shame. Yeah. Sorry if you didn't get a comment in as a result of my ignorance there. I sincerely apologize.
It'll be fine. So for news, of course, we have a little bit of Net Impact news this time. Nothing crazy. Just that the demo that we've previously talked about is now live on PS5, which it took for a little while longer for some reason.
No idea why to this day.
Nope.
Whatever. Doesn't matter.
All the hype has died down from that demo, and now they decided to drop it. So I don't know. Whatever.
Well, if you're a console user, PS5 user specifically, I guess, then now's your chance. There's like less than 2 weeks until it's out, but you can play it still.
Yeah, and that's the other news. It's not news, but just a reminder: the game comes out in like 2 weeks, so get ready.
Hell yeah! Still haven't decided yet if I'll have the time to stream that for the channel or not, but I'm still having that in the back of my head. Let me know if any of you want to see that.
Yeah, that'd be a lot of fun. Okay, so we do have a continuation for the Battle for Owl. This week, we have one more page. And and as always, a reminder, if you're new or whatever, you forgot, this is a comic that is being done by Leo Dog, a listener of ours, about the two of us battling to decide who Owl's #1 fan is. And if you want to read the previous pages and additional information, you can check out the wiki made by insert name. And also the previous pages, pages are on our social media pages, at least on Bluesky. I don't know if Dylan has updated.
I need to update a couple slides, I think, but I'll get to that eventually. I promise.
So yeah, we are picking up where we left off last time with the flashback to how this whole thing started. It's Owl's concert, and he says, "I got an idea. Let's bring one lucky fan up on stage. Who out here is my biggest fan?" And of course, Dylan and I give each other the look, and we can assume what happened after that.
It all led to this.
That was like the final piece of the puzzle. I was like, so that's how it started.
Yeah.
It was great. I really liked this. It's a very simple. But it's definitely, I could see us getting into a fist fight over that for sure.
No, I could for sure. Yeah, no, I think it will happen eventually. Whether it's Owl related or not.
Yeah,
so,
undoubtedly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, in any case, I hope the result doesn't end up with what we cut to here with an aerial view above my bleeding body. But
yeah, you're looking bad, man.
I'm looking kind of fucked up. I'm not gonna lie.
So yeah, we are back to the present, and I like how the flashback is in black and white, and then we get to the present and it's back in color. I think that's really cool.
Yeah.
So we have Dylan bleeding all over the ground as I look down on him, saying, I've been getting stronger, so that never happens again. We got distracted fighting that day. Someone else got picked to go sing with Owl. This was only a fraction of what I've learned. As Dylan said, Kaige, I'm sorry. So, aura
yeah, no,
farming.
you are aura farming to the maximum. I'm not. Wait. You're eating it up right now. But
I sure am.
I wonder who got picked to sing with Al that night, though. That's a question in the back of my mind.
That's a big mystery. Yeah, this could end up being one of those things where it doesn't really matter who was picked, but I wonder, who it does it matter? That's not for us to decide.
No, that's not for us to decide.
But it's an interesting thought.
No, for sure. But will this be the end of me? This is the next question, I guess. But I don't think so. I think I'll probably have.
No, I really don't think so, especially considering what Leo Dog asked in the group chat.
we will not disclose that information.
No,
but...
we're not gonna leak details. But
something.
I don't think you're done.
No.
Yeah, something's coming.
We'll see.
But that's all we got for this week. We'll pick back up soon. And yeah, thanks as always for reading along with us and checking it out. Thanks again to Leo Dog as well. All right, with that, I think we're ready to talk about Netero. You ready, Dylan?
Yep, I'm ready as can be.
All right, let's do it. All right, everybody, welcome to our character retrospective on Isaac Netero, the legend himself. Yes, I think we're both very excited about this one. This is a character that both me and Dylan really love. Would you say top 5, Dylan?
He's very close to it if he's not in the top 5.
Mm-hmm.
It's not something I've put a ton of thought into because there's too many cool characters, obviously. But
no kidding.
Yeah, no, I'm excited to re-explore this character, though. As admittedly, some of the more specific details about him are a little bit foggy for me personally. So I'm excited to relearn about this amazing character.
Absolutely. So as always with these things, we go in chronological order. So we're actually going to be talking about his backstory first, which actually reading or watching the series you don't get until way later. But that's where we're starting. So. A lot of Netero, well, actually, all of Netero's early life is entirely unknown. The earliest point of his life we get to see a large portion of, at least, is the age of 46. So
that's crazy.
We're missing a lot, but it's not really important. I mean, we get the gist of what his life was probably like before that, anyways. So,
Well, unless you watch the last mission, right?
Oh, right. How could I forget?
Totally canon movie.
How could I forget?
Yeah.
His friend, what's his name?
I can't bail you out of this one. I don't remember either.
I don't even remember what's the evil Nen? Own, right? That was the evil Nen.
Yeah.
Own. Yeah, he invented Own.
So stupid. Anyways.
All canon.
That'll be our only mention of last mission this entire episode.
That's a huge part of his history, though. I can't believe I forgot to mention it here.
True.
It's so canon. We also, before I get into real chronological, we do know of a few things that happened in his life, but we don't know when exactly they happened, such as him fighting Maha Zoldyck, who could also be Zig. Unknown. The Maha name is a where does it come from again? It's I think it's from the 99 anime is where that name comes from. But it's not from Togashi. So the person we know as Maha could be who we know of as Zig from the brief Dark Continent flashback. Mm-hmm. But we don't actually know. Anyways, the two of them fought at one point, and Maha was very impressed with his strength. He's the only person to have survived. Netero is the only person to have survived a fight with him, allegedly.
Pretty crazy.
That's a big deal.
Yeah.
And also, he had a child named Beyond Netero with a completely unknown woman at some point. If there was even a woman involved, we don't actually technically know that either.
I really hope we learn about that at some point.
Me too, actually.
That's a giant mystery. Waiting to be answered.
Like, we don't even know. He could have been born, after the flashback we see or during the time before. We have no idea. Because we don't know Beyond's exact age at this point in time. He does seem to be. I mean, he has children of his own, so we have to assume he's pretty old. But
Right.
yeah, huge question mark there. But anyways, on to things we actually factually do know. Netero was always obsessed with martial arts and strived for greater heights. At the age of 46, he believed he had reached the physical limits of his body, so he went deep into the snowy mountains to reflect.
As the normal human being does.
Of course.
Yeah.
This is what I'll be doing once I reach my physical peak. And that's what you should do soon, Dylan, actually, because I know you're about to hit your physical peak, obviously.
True. Yeah, I feel the limits being reached.
Yeah.
So, tank top in
for
hand,
sure.
going to the snowy mountains.
Right.
Yeah.
And I hope you continue to do exactly what he does, too, as we continue here.
I gotta follow in his footsteps, you know?
You gotta, man. You
Yeah.
could be the next Netero.
Hey, maybe.
So, during his time there in the mountains, he came to the realization that he was infinitely grateful to the martial arts for making him the man he was, and vowed that he would show his gratitude in his own unique way by doing a set of 10,000 punches and prayers daily. He would focus his chi, put his hands together, say a prayer, and then punch. It was very rhythmic. It's hands, pray, hands, punch.
And you do that 10,000 times daily.
10,000.
How long does that
10,000.
take per day? I wonder that.
Well, let's see.
Let me just time it like right after this episode.
Well, no, right here.
Oh, right here.
On this first day, this sequence, the whole sequence of praying, hands, punch, took 5 to 6 seconds, and it took him over 18 hours to complete the 10,000 punches every day. So that is his entire day.
Yeah. No. Wow. Like 4 hours to sleep, eat, do whatever else.
Well, not even eat, actually. After completing the ritual, he would collapse from exhaustion and fall into a deep sleep, only to awaken and repeat the 10,000 punches the next day. So that's all he did for 2 years.
So he didn't eat at all for 2 years?
Nope. He was living off of prayers.
I mean, I respect
his faith in martial arts kept him alive. This would become Netero's daily routine for the next 2 years. One day, after those 2 years, he realized that although he had completed his 10,000 punches, the sun had not set yet. 2 years later, at the age of 50, Netero had become capable of completing the daily ritual in under an hour. So that's huge.
Yeah, that's pretty crazy.
So at this point, he is moving at basically the speed of sound. He is just like, and he doesn't even realize it. He just slowly over time got to that point.
Just became one with the rhythm of it, you know?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Very cool.
As a result, he spent the extra time in prayer. So he still wouldn't eat. He just kept praying with his extra time that he had now. So what a man.
Yeah, actually.
Which is a development that led him to enlightenment. Sometime later, Netero descended from the mountain, returning to the dojo he had originally begun his training in, and demonstrated his new strength. His strength moved the Grand Master of the dojo to tears, and he begged Netero to train him and take over the dojo as the new Grand Master. Man.
That's insane. I love that.
Yeah. I love that moment.
The Grand Master said, "Yeah, I'm not worthy anymore. You got it, man."
Literally, yeah. He was like, "I am not even worthy to be in your presence, dude." Like, holy hell. There, he taught the Shingen Ryu Kung Fu style, which is what Wing later teaches to. Oh no, Zushi.
Zushi. Okay. I was ready to.
We're almost at Heaven's Arena in '99.
Yeah, we're almost there. You know, you'll get the reminder soon enough.
Yeah. Along the way, Netero became a hunter and joined the Pure Paladin Squad, where he took part in 2 expeditions to the Dark Continent, one of which was unofficial, and he returned alive both times. However, the experience left him unsatisfied, as he wished for strength that would allow him to triumph against his opponents, while there was no victory in the Dark Continent, only survival. So basically, he wanted a tangible goal
Yeah.
And that is not what the Dark Continent had in store for him. It was basically just fighting for your life there. And that's not the kind of fights he's interested in.
Yeah, which that makes sense. Like you're kind of just, I feel like in the Dark Continent, just it's like you're fighting to not lose, essentially, right? Probably involves a lot of just like running away for the most part,
right?
Just like evading, right? But like, as we see as the Netero story develops here, he likes to fight and he likes to get like absolute victory.
Exactly.
So when you don't have something to clearly indicate that in like the basically the gigantic wilderness that is the Dark Continent, right? Then that makes sense.
Yeah, and what's really cool about placing that where it is in the timeline, this is the presumed spot that it takes place, is because right after this is when he would start, in the Chimera Ant flashback, we see how he goes from dojo to dojo, just taking on challengers. He fights people. He wants to win. He's just fighting people to spread his message, to continue fighting, meet new people. It's cool to frame that after the Dark Continent expedition where, he realizes, like, this is just not it. I'm getting nothing out of this. So he comes back to the mainland and continues what he actually wants to do.
Which,
it's cool.
It's cool, and it sets up his character to be just, like, ungodly. Because, like, like any other normal hunter even would see the Dark Continent, surviving the Dark Continent as, like, a huge accomplishment, all things considered, right? Considering the stories that we've heard about it. And, obviously, like, the curses and whatnot that have been brought back from the Dark Continent. Yeah. But like to Netero, that's like baby mode stuff. Like he does not care for that at all.
Yeah, it's not his style.
Yeah.
And then again, at some unknown point in time, he was elected 12th chairman of the Hunter Association. So just a lot of things we don't exactly know when they happened, but they did happen.
Yeah.
And it would make sense why he was elected. I mean,
no qualms about that from me. I can see what happened till that point.
Yeah. Which now brings us to the actual story proper, where we first see him in the story is, of course, the Hunter exam arc. Netero makes his first appearance in the second phase of the exam, where he tells Menshi that she isn't exactly being fair to the examinees and has her create a new test for them to complete. And also worth noting, whenever he makes his entrance here, he like jumps from the airship and like makes a huge crater in the ground. It's awesome as hell.
Massive first impression there.
Yeah.
Sure. Like you knew he was like the guy, like the moment that happened.
Oh yeah, he's the guy. Afterwards, on the airship that will take them to the third phase site, he gets bored and decides to challenge Gon and Killua to a game in which they must take a ball from his hands, and if they succeed, they will immediately become hunters. And
that's one of the earliest signs that we can see of just like his competitive nature in general, right? Just like being showcased there.
Exactly, yeah. The signs were always there. Killua realizes he doesn't stand a chance and dips, while Gon stays and has a new goal of making Netero use his right arm, because up to this point he has only been using his left arm to hold the ball and fend off Gon. Which Gon does accomplish. Netero is left impressed and satisfied, so he orders the pilot of the airship to move a little slower to allow Gon to rest.
What a nice old
This is also, exactly, this is also here the beginning of this sweet little kind of one-sided relationship that Netero has with Gon, where he sees a lot of arguably himself, or at least just potential. He just sees a future in Gon. No matter how you choose to interpret it.
Yeah, I mean, no matter how you interpret it, I feel like it reads as if like it's just a future potential in Gon that he just is interested in. He doesn't know how it'll turn out necessarily. Is kind of how I read it. He wants to see what happens with him.
Yeah, he has a curious specimen in front of him, and he just wants to see what happens with it. Later, it's Netero's job to create the final phase of the exam. So to help create the perfect final phase, he decides to interview each of the remaining examinees. Nothing too interesting happens in regards to Netero with these interviews, but there is a great moment with Hisoka where he says that the person he most wants to fight is Netero. And Netero just kind of blows him off.
He's like, yeah, okay, you're done.
Yep. All right, moving on. Next, please. It's awesome because Hisoka's taking it so seriously. He's like, he's probably ready to fight right there now. But
yeah, if he said the word, he'd be ready. But...
Yeah.
Netero has better things to do.
He sure does. After the interviews are over, he creates a tournament bracket for a tournament in which only one person will lose. And this is actually exactly where we are right now in the Hunter x Hunter 1999 watch through, if you want to go check that out.
Yeah. It's been good fun.
Yeah. The tournament happens, and Netero gives everyone except Killua and Botaro, rest in peace, their hunter's license. So 2 people technically failed, but one is dead.
The alternate timeline where Botaro was alive and got his license. Wonder where he'd be.
I wish. Is there any AU fix about that?
I'm sure. I'm sure that exists.
Probably. Yeah. Botaro and Chimera Ant. What would change?
What would change? Botaro on the boat.
Think about the possibilities, guys. Yeah, dude, he would definitely be somebody Kurapika would have called to help bodyguard.
Absolutely. After watching
100%.
99, like, especially, yeah, he'd be called on for sure.
Oh, yeah. What could have been?
What could have been. That's right.
All right, Greed Island. He has a huge role in this arc, so buckle in.
Whoa, huge.
So, obviously, a very minor thing here. The unnamed examiner, which I had no idea didn't have a name. He's straight up unnamed.
Wow.
The guy who does the first phase of the 288th Hunter exam, the one that Killua destroys. This guy asked Netero what he should do since Killua wiped out every single examinee in the first phase. To which Netero basically just says, I mean, just pass him. Like, why not? Like, what's the point?
Shortest Hunter exam ever. I'm sure they were all pleased about that.
Yeah, honestly, they deserve a break. And then Chimera Ant arc.
Okay,
here we go.
Get to the meat and
yeah, big boy stuff here. So, following Spinner Clowes, one of Kite's friends, you guys probably didn't even remember his name or her name, and we just did this episode not long ago. Was that last month? That was last month.
That was last month's retrospective, I believe. Yeah.
Did anybody remember that name?
Not me.
Did you remember that name?
Nope.
Nope. I didn't either. But that's the red-haired Kite friend, or pink hair, the one with the hat.
Yeah. I can see the face, but like it's just the name is only said like one time ever, so like I never recall.
Yeah, literally one time, I think. But following her report, Netero formed an extermination team to deal with the threat of the giant colony of Chimera ants. Due to Pariston's manipulation of the review board, however, he had trouble bringing even Nove and Moral along. So
Pariston.
Oh, Pariston. So we got this ragtag group coming in, 3 people and their students, which we'll get to later.
Mm-hmm.
They run into Killua and an unconscious Gon at the entrance to NGL. He asks about Gon's condition and if the enemy is truly as powerful as they fear. Killua confirms this and tells him that Gon will be okay, but that Kite is likely dead. Actually, I think Killua is a little more pessimistic. I think he just actually says that Kite's dead, like straight up, if I remember right. But
yeah, I think he was still kind of in that phase of just like Gon kind of cheering him up. He was just like,
right.
Oh, it's so over, man. Like we're so done. But I believe it was Netero that had to kind of give a little bit of a pep talk even to Killua there in that moment, if I'm remembering correctly. But
yeah, a little bit.
Or more, maybe not necessarily a pep talk, or more just like, no worries, we got this. Like,
yeah, it's sort of just reassurance. Like, yeah, I mean, this you kind of you punched over your weight. Just to let us deal with it.
Exactly.
But before departing, he gives Killua 2 halves of 2 shogi tiles, inviting him to fight the 2 assassins they have left in the nearest town for the other pieces if they want to join them on the extermination mission. So we will hear about none of that in this episode, but
no. But I kind of like how it ties into, like it kind of ties back to like the whole ball game that he had with Killua and Gon in the Hunter exam. It's just it's weird. I mean, it's a little bit weird, I guess, if you think about this whole thing being framed as like a game to Netero, but like ultimately that's Netero's character in general, right?
Yeah.
So, but like he's like, okay, well, here's another test. You know, I want to see like if you have what it takes, essentially, right? That innate curiosity of Netero, just to see like someone's potential in general, is another theme that runs through here.
Yeah, and obviously also his fascination with these two in particular, because
Yep.
we also have. Actually, I realized way later. I forgot to even mention this part at all, but I'll mention it here real quick. He makes a wager with Nov and Moral about if it's going to be Moral students or
Oh
Gon
yeah.
and Palm that come,
Hmm.
and he bets on Gon and Kilo and Palm by extension. I don't think he really believed in Palm all that much, but
No,
she's there too.
definitely not.
So where do we go? Oh yeah, so they go straight to the nest, but notice that doing anything, it's really weird to go from that part to that instead of going to the more or the knuckle and shoot stuff. It just feels really wrong, but that
Yeah.
has nothing to do with Netero. so
No, it doesn't.
so yeah, the three boys, well men rather, go straight
Men,
to the
yeah.
nest. Men. Straight to the nest, but notice that doing anything is going to be pretty much impossible because of Pito's N. Pito
Yeah.
has ridiculous N.
Stupidly good end, actually.
Yeah.
So. Makes sense.
So they spend a lot of their time waiting for squadrons of ants to come out of range and have Moral use his smoke to confuse them, while Nov transports all of them to a room, one of his rooms, with just Netero inside, where he exterminates them and gets intel at the same time.
You know how terrifying that must be to be just one of these like fodder ants that just you get immediately like choked out by smoke, transported into a small boxed-in room with like the strongest hunter in the world. They're ready to interrogate you.
Yeah, for real, dude.
That's not a situation I'd ever want to find myself
No, what a way to go.
in. Yeah.
After quite some time of doing this, Colt approaches them waving a white flag and explains that the king was born and is extremely cruel and left the nest with the royal guard, leaving the queen in a state near death. The four leave the NGL and Netero starts making calls, sending Dr. Lee to heal the queen. He then cuts off his ponytail and changes into his heart t-shirt, iconic,
Iconic for sure.
asking Colt to compare his aura to the king's. Colt replies Netero will not even get to him, as he will be killed by the royal guard first.
And I think he takes that as a challenge the moment he
He
hears
sure does. He sure does.
Did not like
Classic
that answer.
hand on chin pose.
Yeah. How can I usurp these expectations?
Yeah. So, for the time being, literally taking this as a challenge pretty much, Netero leaves matters into Morel's hands and heads off to see an old friend. It's Zeno.
Yeah.
Whom he hires to help separate the king from the royal guards when the time comes. Around that time, the V5 orders Netero to exterminate the Chimera ants by any means necessary, which he interprets to mean that the Hunter Association will take the fallout of whatever happens here.
Makes sense.
Which
yeah. They're just like, all right.
He's not
yeah,
very happy about.
No. But,
But, yeah.
it has to
They're
be
just
done,
dumping
right?
this whole thing on them.
Yeah.
Yeah. He then records a DVD in which he announces he is dead and gives instructions to the next for the next chairman election, because he knows what's coming.
Yeah. He's a sensible man still, if even though he's competitive at heart, right? He knows what he's getting into here.
He does. He then gets a poor man's rose. I wrote poor man's worse. Whoops. Poor man's rose. Poor man's worse. Poor man's rose implanted in his chest by an unknown party of what I assume to be scientists or like military. No idea. Maybe both. I have no idea who those people are.
We don't really know the origin of this bomb, honestly.
No, not entirely. Just that it was a
weird.
weapon. Yeah, we don't really know who made it, as far as I know.
Not that it matters if we knew who made it, but like, it's a little weird to think about. That was never really touched upon. It's kind of random, but it is
a little bit. But regardless of who the people were, the bomb is set to go off the moment his heart stops beating. Yeah. So he put this in as like a last resort because he knows the fight that he's about to get himself into.
Yeah.
So Netero then infiltrates East Gorto on his own and then texts the other members of the extermination team. He orders the hunters to split up into groups of 2, with each pair luring a royal guard away from the king, implying he knows about Gon and Killua also joining the mission, which he was not around for at all.
No, I kind of like to think that like he just kind of knew they would be there,
Oh yeah,
even if
he
it
just
wasn't
knew.
confirmed to him. Yeah.
Yep. Yeah, I love that.
He knew at the very least Gon wouldn't be able to step away from this fight, I feel like. So.
Oh yeah, yeah. The plan will commence at midnight sharp on the night before the rally. He proceeds to meditate until then, readying Zero Hand.
Oh yeah.
Oh baby. On the night of the attack, Netero and Zeno are flown above the palace by Silva Zoldyck. Pito immediately goes for Netero, since they sense that he is the strongest one here. And then, of course, bad move, little ant.
Oh my god, I get chills.
Chills. I
every
got
time
chills
hear that.
again.
It's such an
Oh, it's so
iconic
good.
line. One of his best lines for sure.
It's absolutely one of his best. It is so good.
For all the preparation he's doing for the king himself, he was not worried at all about the royal guards. It's so
No, not even a little bit. Upon landing, Netero and Zeno immediately use their end to locate the king. What they find surprises them, though. They see the king sitting there, holding a heavily wounded Komugi in his arms. Pito reaches them and is asked by the king to heal Komugi. Netero motions Zeno not to intervene. Neither of them had anticipated Komugi would be there or was prepared for the king to behave like this at all. They thought he was just this, especially because of Colt's intel, they assumed him to just be a completely inhuman, uncaring monster. But
yeah, like
the first
attack on
sight of him, the first sight of him is caring for a human.
Yeah, compassion.
So,
even, which is it's
Yeah.
very odd, obviously.
Yeah. The king suggests they head somewhere else to fight, which, despite it being Netero's plan all along, makes him feel like the initiative has been taken away from him. Oh, he's being out-kinged here.
Yeah.
Upon reaching the balcony, Netero spots Gon and points him towards Pito with a smile on his face. Another iconic moment.
Yep.
He knows exactly what he's doing. For better or
He-
for worse, that is a thing he did.
Netero is very much an instigator when you think about it.
He absolutely is.
He just likes the chaos. He just likes to see what
He's
happens.
an enabler.
Yeah, exactly. He's an enabler. That's a good way of putting it.
Yeah, 100%. Zeno carries both Netero and the king to the place in which they will battle. This place ends up being a test site for military weapons. Perfect for what he will do later. The king asks why Netero wants to fight despite knowing he'll die. Netero replies that he cannot know without trying and tells the king not to judge him by his looks. The king offers to spare Netero, claiming he has learned that there are humans who deserve living as more than livestock. But Netero isn't going to accept that. The king insists on talking instead of fighting, but Netero, not allowing himself to believe that there is a chance for the king to grow, to actually care about humans, and remembering the outcome of this mission will decide the Hunter Association's fate, dismisses the invitation before he starts to second-guess himself, and strikes with first hand. And this is a scene I've always really loved, because it's not as though he's not, like, in denial. He's not saying there's no hope for this guy. He just doesn't want to believe it, because there's so much at stake here, he can't afford to be thinking like that.
Yeah, because obviously one wrong move and like everything could be completely fucked up, right? So it's more like he's given himself the least amount of chance possible to have like a slip in thought that could cost him everything.
Yeah.
You know. So
yeah, because he knows if he lets Meruem keep talking here, he's gonna get convinced, and he can't have that. So he starts the fight. He's not letting him talk anymore. It's over.
Netero is just as much of a believer in humanity in general as the next guy, right?
Oh,
but
yeah.
He's
absolutely.
This is a very big threat, so he can't allow his own personal bias, I think, to really involve itself in this fight, which I respect a lot, to be honest.
Oh yeah, for sure. It's hard to watch, especially knowing how Meruem ends up becoming later.
Yeah, for sure.
It makes sense. Like if you were in his shoes, you might do the same thing. It's hard to say. This is such an incredibly tense scenario that he's in. Like more tension than you will ever feel in your entire life is on this man's shoulders right now.
Absolutely.
And now he has this guy he was just assigned to kill by any means necessary, starting to talk like a human being.
But
You gotta shut it down.
Yeah, and it's such a weird point too, even accounting for that, where like obviously you just saw the compassion he was showing to a human, but like he did all this really bad stuff not that long ago too. So it's like,
yeah,
can you really believe this will last? Even like
right,
it's hard
exactly.
to say at that point. So yeah, no fault to Netero at all here for just
not at all.
going forward with it.
He's doing his job. He's doing his duty. And thus begins one of the most legendary fights in the history of entertainment, dare I say.
Yeah, it lives up to that accolade for sure.
Netero realizes the king isn't taking this seriously, so to give him motivation, he says that he knows the king's name and will tell him what it is if he can get Netero to admit defeat.
Which he learned that name from the queen's last words, right?
Correct. Yep.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. He wasn't there, but he got like the report of what she said in her final moments.
Right.
And it was that his name was Meruem. Pleased with the formal acceptance of his challenge, Netero takes to the air and activates 99th hand. That's a hard number to say. Well, it is a word, but it's also a number.
It's both, yeah.
It's both. As the technique unleashes a barrage of blows on the king, Netero wonders when he started waiting for an opponent to make the first move, and when it became automatic for him to accept the gratitude of a defeated challenger. What
an interesting question to pose that early in a
fight. Right? Yeah. Reflecting on his life, because he knows it's the end. He's thinking back on everything. Mm-hmm. He vehemently tells himself that it is not what he wanted, but that he dreamed of giving his heart and soul to battle an unstoppable adversary. The ground caves, and the two fighters find themselves in an underground structure, which Netero claims to be a tomb. Yours, as he says.
Oh my god. He's the coldest character in this entire series, despite also being the nicest old man imaginable. Yeah.
Yeah. He's both.
So cool.
Netero continues barraging him with the hands as he realizes that one wrong move will spell the end of this fight. Just when the attacks begin to give the king a dull internal ache, he manages to slip through the aura's arms, like the, Guanyin Bodhisattva, his arms, and severs Netero's right leg.
And this is a moment I'll never forget from this fight too, because he's just Netero is going all in on Meruem, just not giving him a chance to even breathe, because he knows. Gives him a chance to breathe, he might die from it, right?
Yep, it's over.
And then, with even giving his all there, he still manages to slip through and just cuts off his leg. It's so insane. You needed that one opening. That was it.
And I made sure to put it the Meruem is being hit by most of these attacks. Actually, I think literally all of them, except the one he misses. And the narrator specifically, a dull internal ache. That's exactly what he says. And damn. That's
barely scratched. Yeah, that's crazy. That would kill any other being.
Anybody else. The king believes this to be the end and demands he tells him his name, but Netero says this is just the beginning and forces his leg wound to close.
God. Built different, actually.
Built different, to say the least. The king is impressed, but still declares that he will take his left arm next. After another exchange, this prediction comes true. His left arm is the next thing to go, and the king once again demands to know his name. But Netero, smirking, despite the pain, asks him if he thinks he needs two arms to pray. Chills again. Oh my god.
Chills. And I think about this moment all the time, especially considering it hasn't been that long ago since we watched JJK, right? Where there's a moment in that series that very much rips off this entire part.
Very clearly a reference.
Oh my god, it's still so cool despite that, and it's iconic for a reason, right? You don't need two arms to have your beliefs there,
Nope.
So.
Prayer comes for the heart, and that's from Toto. I almost said Toji.
That's from
that
Toto,
part's from
JJK.
Toto.
But same messaging all around still though, right?
That's right. Netero then activates Zero Hand, which causes the aura statue to appear behind the king and restrain him in its hands before firing all of Netero's remaining aura from its mouth. This is by far the most devastating Nen attack we have ever seen in the history of the series.
Yeah.
And it doesn't really do much. It does damage him visibly. He's scratched up. He's got like parts of his flesh missing and stuff.
Yeah, he's cut up for sure.
Yeah, but he's still chilling. Like it's no sweat.
It's insane because the way that scene is portrayed, yeah, like that is like you would think like anybody caught in that would just die on the spot, right? Like being eviscerated.
Mm-hmm.
Not Merum.
No, he's good.
There was no other attack like that prior to this, and this guy just comes out not unscathed, but like might as well have been unscathed.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, might as well have been. The ability does certainly impress him though, but he still demands once again to know his name because I mean at this point it really does look like it's over. Netero's skin and bones. He's used up everything.
All of his aura for that attack.
Yep. And this is where I resort to just using quotes because this is like the hardest shit ever. So, a near-death Netero sits there laughing to himself, saying, "I am not alone. Do not underestimate humans, Meruem." Finally saying his name as he sends a chill down Meruem's spine. Oh my god, I'm getting chills.
Yeah,
it happened while I was typing it too. It is so good. Meruem, king of the ants. You have no idea, do you? You know nothing of the bottomless malice within the human heart. As the narrator says, this is the first time Meruem felt fear. See you in hell, if there is one. As Netero pierces his heart and sets off poor man's rose, ending his life. I am covered in chills. Oh my god, dude.
Nearly ending Merum's life too.
Yeah, just about, just barely. It would have killed him if not for Yami and Poof.
Yeah, obviously they kind of got ass pulled by them, but he's the king. He found a way throughout all.
Oh, of that. Ultimately this does still kill him, by the way, because he's poisoned. But
right. But
from the
still lived on a little longer from this, despite which is
just a little
absolutely insane, to say the least. But this was a hell of a send off for Netero. Obviously, I don't even know where to start with this segment in particular.
It's
even somebody with as like hopeful of humanity as Netero still acknowledges that like humans will do like literally anything to get what they want, and that includes setting off a bomb within themselves to kill another being that threatens humanity's extinction.
Yeah. Oh god, it is so good. It's just it is my favorite fight in manga history. It will probably not surprise many to hear that. This is just like the finest example of what a manga fight can be.
Yeah.
It's absolutely perfect. No notes. Every time I read or watch this, I get chills. Every time I talk about it, I get chills. Look at me right now. If you could see my arms, I'm just covered in goosebumps. It is unbelievable.
It is a fight that many manga have taken inspiration from in a lot of different ways for their own fights, I would imagine. And while also still just being a very unique template for a fight that stands the test of time. And just completely contextualizes both Netero and Merum's characters in just in an amazing spotlight. And no notes, like you said.
It's just flawless. I mean, it's such an interesting like set of characters to battle too. It's so unique. It's basically what we have is like a newborn baby versus an old wise man. But it's a newborn baby that has thoughts, that can speak, and is very powerful. It's you can't get this anywhere else. It's so interesting. It's this entitled brat, basically. That in Netero's eyes, that's all Meruem is. And we have Netero here just fighting on the behalf of all of humanity. He's carrying the world on his back in this fight.
Yeah.
And he ends it with this weapon that was meant to, in some sense of the word, destroy humanity, or at least destroy portions of humanity created by other humans. And just that's why I love this final line so much of, you know nothing of the bottomless malice within the human heart. Because what we have is Meruem who again I'll say is just basically like a newborn baby. He's learning about emotions. He's learning about what the human heart is. It's baby steps. Right now, really, all he understands about humans is through Komugi, who is like the sweetest girl on the planet.
Yeah, that's all he knows.
He's learning. Yeah, he's learning that, you know what? Okay, some humans are all right. Maybe they're worth keeping around. And then we have Netero attempting to show him in his own way that, humans, they're not perfect by any stretch of the imagination. We try to kill each other even without ants coming around and killing us too. And
it's worse for a reason, right?
Yeah. It's just completely unbelievably good. This is Togashi's greatest accomplishment, honestly, as is this entire arc, but this moment in particular is just, my God, it's so extremely good.
Yeah, and in a twisted way as well. Like, it kind of like showing like the amount of malice within the human heart, as Netero puts it, kind of opened Merrim's eyes into just humans' potential in general, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like almost surpassing Chimera ants themselves in terms of like just sheer determination, willpower, and all that, right? So
exactly.
I really this scene just speaks 1,000 words, despite it only being a few sentences.
It does. Yeah. Merrim learned so much from Netero with very few words. Netero, Komugi taught him about humanity to some degree, but Netero really taught him what humanity is all about. He's the pinnacle. You can say that Netero is the pinnacle of humanity.
Yeah. No, genuinely. Yeah.
Yeah, for sure. And Merrim understands that, and he doesn't regain his memories obviously until very late in the arc, but once he does, I like to think that Netero is on his mind a lot, in addition to Komugi, obviously. But the lessons he learned from him, I mean, he took him to the grave, I'm sure.
Yeah, absolutely. Incredible scene all around. Obviously, we've been talking about it for what feels like ages now. But, yeah, crazy. Yeah. Crazy stuff.
Perfection. So then we move into, I mean, he's dead now, so, I mean, not really him, but
his legacy still goes on. Yeah.
That's right. The 13th Chairman election arc, obviously he's dead, but this entire arc is set up by him, so, I mean,
Yeah. He kind of started all
gray
this.
area.
He kind of started everything going forward, to be honest with you. So.
Yeah, for sure. I'm sure there will be more to say about him even later into the future too.
I wouldn't be surprised if another videotape comes up at some point.
Yeah.
We'll see.
Honestly.
I guess.
Speaking of the first videotape, which I mean we only knew of this one at this point, but we'll get another one very shortly. Was played, which is how we start this whole arc. And after the election, Moral and Nove used the money they had waged on their past bet to buy a bottle of expensive wine and toast glasses in his office, placing a full one in front of his photo. Aw.
Very sweet. Yeah. But then the election arc happens, and that's a whole roller coaster in of itself. But yeah.
Not involving him though. It involves Pariston a lot, which was his right-hand man.
Yeah, Pariston. Jesus. Anyways, trying to fill the void of Netero, which is not easy to fill.
Yeah. No, certainly not. And then later on in the Succession Contest arc at the very beginning, still dead, but another one of his messages is played here to the Zodiacs only, their eyes only, where he reveals that he knows what he knows of the Dark Continent and that he has a son beyond who is 100% going to go there after he dies, because he had previously forbidden Beyond from going there again. But
it's
once
funny.
He dies, there's nothing stopping him.
Yeah, it's really funny though, knowing what Beyond is as a character, like now that like he respected Netero that much, that it was like, okay, yeah, I won't go as long as you're alive.
Yeah, I mean, can you blame him? I still think we don't know much about Beyond in terms of strength, but I still think Netero, like Isaac Netero, could have kicked his ass.
Oh, probably, and that's probably why he didn't go. He's like, I probably wouldn't be there for long before he carried me back.
Exactly. Yeah, what's the point? So he wants a group of people to lead a more successful venture than his son in the Dark Continent, but a great risk will be sure to follow as he marks this task an A-level difficulty. He phrases his words as a request, but they all know that this is really an order. The final order of Isaac Netero. And that's where we leave off. That's all we got.
That final order still has not been fulfilled yet.
Nope. One day, maybe, hopefully. Please.
Hopefully. Yeah, please. Would love to see that come to pass. Yeah.
But yeah, that's everything. And really, truly, this is everything we know about Netero. Like, we pretty much talked about every detail. I can't really think of anything I would have left out here that's of great importance, at least.
He's a very simple character on the surface with like not a ton of information to go off of, but man, the scenes that he was showcased in by Togashi and just like the impact he had on, you know, when he was involved, chills. You know, it's still felt to this day, and you know, as the current arcs are, you know, being written. So crazy stuff.
Yeah, he's just one of those guys. He's very short-lived in the grand scheme of things. His amount of page time is minimal compared to many others, but you never forget him. You can't possibly forget him. He's a
legend. Yeah.
He is a legend. That's for damn sure. Mm-hmm. And this is also, you know, worth noting. This is the first dead character we've talked about on the show, like properly dead. We talked about Kite, but I mean, he's alive technically.
Yeah, Kite's a weird case.
Yeah.
No, Netero is actually dead. There's no way.
No, he's gone.
He's gone.
Yeah, so it's interesting to be able to actually like talk about a character's entire story for once, even though I can't really say that for sure because there is actually still a lot we don't know about him that could prove to be important, like Beyond's whole existence.
Beyond's whole existence, just, you know, this whole thing being Netero's request in general to explore the Dark Continent. I still believe if we ever reach the Dark Continent that we might get a Dark Continent flashback of some sort, and maybe Netero would be involved there. You know,
yeah.
Because they did show that he was there, you know, in like that one, you know, big panel when they were talking about the Dark Continent. So
yeah.
I don't think it'll be the last we see of him in terms of page time, but yeah, his story is done. So,
yep. At least the present day, we've chronologically done it all, but we can still backfill stuff. Similar to like Ace in One Piece, how after he dies, we get like more content about him than before he was dead. But I don't think that'll be the case with Netero, but there's always room to explore dead characters.
Absolutely.
So yeah, with that, I think we're just ready to see what you guys had to say about him and keep the conversation going.
Yeah, no, I'm curious. Let's go ahead and get into it.
Let's do it.
Okay, now it's time to dive into community comments and read what you guys have to say about Isaac Netero, the myth, the man, the legend himself. Usual reminder, if you want to get in on the fun and, you know, and the discussion from week to week on any given topic, make sure you check out the YouTube community posts as well as the call-out posts on Twitter and Bluesky, except for this week where I forgot Twitter. My bad again. It's usually there, I promise. But yeah, be sure to check out all those socials. And then, of course, if you're an audio-only listener and don't have social media for whatever reason, you can always email us your thoughts at hunterassociationpod@gmail.com. So, to kick things off, I'll just say that these are all YouTube community post comments. So, yeah. But starting off the first one with Cell Weaver. I love how he appeared as a goofy old man when the series first started. Then he has the ultimate switch up in Chimera Ant arc. Yeah.
Hell yeah.
I feel like that was an intentional decision from Togashi as well. Like, maybe he didn't quite know how like insane Netero would be later on, but like he was the head of the Hunter Association for a reason, right? I'm sure he had ultimately some big plan for him. But,
yeah, I would definitely say that the signs were always there. Like you could definitely feel that there was something to that guy, especially with the Hisoka scene and, you know, the scene where he lands and like explodes the ground. Like he's obviously a tier above everybody else.
But very intentional, I think, just like presenting him as like a goofy guy, though, because like that's kind of his personality at heart, right? He's just a silly old man who likes to play games, you know?
Yeah, absolutely. Next up is from This Is Me 2014, who says, an absolute goated character. I love this troupe of old legends. In my opinion, Netero represents the greed for more power in his younger days, and that greed definitely transferred to Beyond too. I wonder if Netero only had one child or if there's more. Yeah, I've been finding myself wondering that too ever since the Beyond reveal.
Not out of the realm of possibility, for sure.
No, certainly not. Zeno said Netero fought his grandfather and survived. Did someone hire Zoldix to kill Netero? Hey, interesting question. Maybe.
Maybe, yeah. Again, not out of the question.
Yeah, not at all. Or Netero just challenged him. And that's kind of where my mind goes more so, because I think he just heard, like, oh, this guy's, like, insanely strong. Let's just go fight him. Mm-hmm. I think that's what happened personally, but maybe, I don't know. He could have been a target.
No confirmation, so, speculate all you want.
There's still a lot of mystery to this character. Indeed, there is. That's what's so interesting about him.
And, what you said there about just, like, Netero representing kind of greed, like greed within humanity in general, that kind of lines up with just how his life experiences were, right? He just wanted more and more power, right? He kind of he wanted to feel that adrenaline rush almost of, like, getting absolute victory. And that kind of shows that, like, when he was talking about humanity, being kind of a shit show to Meruem in a lot of ways, right? Yeah. That represents himself as well to a degree, because, like, right. he recognizes. I think it's very clear that he recognizes he himself is not a perfect human being either. Like, there is very much faults in his character as well with how he approached things, including in the fight with Meruem to arguably.
Yeah, a lot of people tend to say that when one decides to talk about humanity as a whole, the collective we, there's a lot of projecting happening whenever somebody talks in that manner, and Netero is definitely guilty of that as well.
Good point. Yeah. Okay. Next comment is from Cakes here, saying, "A man of multitudes, he has lived longer than any of us could even imagine. He is at least a grandpa over a grandpa, so to say his life has been long is an understatement. Was a grandpa when Zeno was a kid." That's kind of wild to think about, actually.
Yeah, it's very hard to wrap your head around how old he actually is.
He's a very old guy.
Yeah.
I also find the Zero Hand to be one of the most heartbreaking moments of the series. The Buddha of Compassion throws away his power for an attack that doesn't even work. A cheap shot from behind, I believe he could only use once, because once used, he has proven that he isn't the man fit for these powers. That kind of gave me chills there, I'm not gonna lie.
Damn, bro.
Whoa. Very cool reading of that moment, honestly.
Yeah, absolutely. I've never read it that way before, but yeah, that's powerful. That's good.
Yeah. Woo. I'll think about that one for a minute.
Yeah, that's nice. I like that a lot. That's very, very interesting.
Good comment.
Very good. Next is from Dubs Salamander. He says, absolutely one of my favorite characters, and I think it's funny that he didn't call the Zodiacs for the Chimera Ant arc just so he can get his licks in. Well, he couldn't because of Pariston, but, I mean, yeah, you can interpret it that way. Why not?
Yeah. Pariston kind of Pariston all over, or not Meruem's.
I do that all the time.
Yeah.
They have, like, weirdly similar names.
Kind of, but, like, I think it's just that they go hand in hand so often.
Yeah, that too.
Like, just kind of
you get tongue-tied, yeah.
But yeah, Pariston kind of blocked that from happening, I think.
Yeah, absolutely. There's no way in hell he or the V5, in that matter, would have let every single Zodiac go. That would have been ludicrous.
I also think that's probably for the best in the long run too, because, like, I feel like all the Zodiacs would just, like, die on the spot in this situation, to be honest with you. So, well, not Jing, obviously, but, like,
well, yeah, Jing. Oh man, Jing in the dark, and Jing and Chimera Ant. What a sight that would be.
That, yeah, in another world maybe.
Yeah.
Not this one.
Not this one.
Next up we have from 96 Wacko X Jacko 96. Arguably the most important character in the story, even though he's mostly only present in the start and the Chimera Ant arc. His presence, his decisions in the story are vital to everything. Think of how things could have been. Menchie could have failed all the examinees if he didn't show up. He could have denied Gon and Killua from going on the raid. He could have talked instead of fighting Meruem. The reason Netero developed his ability was to use those arms to push the plot along for sure. And although he's dead, it is still moving because of him. His battle against the Ants was major foreshadowing for him and his family's interest in the Dark Continent. We will only continue to learn about them and their connections. No doubt the results of whatever he's done there will be felt for the rest of the story. Couldn't agree more.
Absolutely. Yep. His impact is truly profound.
it's still being felt now, and it will continue to be felt, especially when we reach the Dark Continent and at some point in the next 10 years.
Hopefully.
Yeah, hopefully.
All right, big man number 1. We got insert name. First up, he says, and we'll be splitting this in half as per usual.
Yeah.
He says, huge fan of how the subtle foreshadowing of the brutality of the Hunter exam, as well as the general culture of the Hunter Association, acts as a reflection of Netero. Yeah, I think maybe it was you or maybe it was somebody else. Actually, I think it was somebody else that talked about that a long time ago on the show. We had a comment that it said something akin to this, and that's always been something that stuck with me. The exams really do reflect Netero, and also just kind of the idea of being a hunter in general. It's sort of meant in a weird way to prepare you for like every aspect of being a hunter.
Yeah.
And if that's all under Netero's, how Netero views being a hunter, that especially makes sense, because he wants tough hunters. He doesn't want weak ones.
It's very
sure.
much. There's a reason the whole exam is presented as just like a giant like weeding out fest.
Yeah.
He doesn't want to just put anybody into that position of that title, right? Only the best of the best.
Yeah. Which also lends itself really well to the one where Killua was the only one to pass. I mean, it's just like, Netero's just like, I guess he was the only one worthy of it this year.
Yeah,
whatever.
What
Let's
are
just
these
wrap
other
it up.
chumps gonna do? Yeah.
Yeah. They can't even beat this kid. Not worth it.
And on the flip side, it leads, it's showcased more by like, even looking at the first Hunter exam shown in the series with Hisoka. Like, obviously, Hisoka's friend is like this horrible guy for most of it, right? Like, why would anybody let this dude become a hunter and have this amount of like power, right?
Right.
But, like, ultimately, like in Netero's version of the association, they don't care about that stuff. They just want potential.
No.
That's it, you know? So
yeah, and that's
it
that's
makes a lot of
literally in
sense.
the interview too. Where he asked Hisoka what he's gonna do once he becomes a hunter, and he's just like, "Well, I'll kill people and I'll get away with it
Yeah.
because I have that license." And Netero's just like, "Oh, yeah, all right."
Okay, yeah, sure. It's so funny looking back on it, but like, yeah, considering how Netero just views his journey through the world in general and kind of what he wants to see out of people, that he encounters, it more than lines up.
Yeah, absolutely. And that was only the first sentence of insert names comment.
We talked about that a lot. Oh my god.
Whoops.
Okay.
Okay. I didn't even realize. I just I looked back at the comment. I was like, oh, we read one sentence.
It'd be like that. This is a shorter episode so far anyways. It's fine.
Yeah, we're fine. One of Togashi's greatest feats in Hunter x Hunter is the usage of the internal power scale to communicate ideas. Netero is perhaps one of the most impressive usages of this in the series. When Kurapika fights Uvogin, we are exposed to the idea that a much smarter and more motivated fighter can take down a stronger fighter in this world. Consistently, we are reinforced that a weaker fighter on the right day and right conditions can beat someone stronger. For sure.
Yeah.
So in this world, what does it mean to be the strongest? They must be transcendent, able to deal with whatever the world puts their way with overwhelming force. In a story so defined by intelligence in fights entering the arc with perhaps the most planning and creativity in its combat, he feels so different. But it works here, because Netero's ambition in singular and overwhelming is singular and overwhelming and a perfect complement to Meruem. Netero found what he wanted in martial arts and singularly pursued it. Through the fight with Meruem, he's able to regain some of that ambition. Meruem doesn't truly know his ambitions and fights by observing others trying to deconstruct their actions in hopes of finding a course of action. But through Netero, he sees the power of ambition, both in terms of someone strong, but also in someone weak, like Komugi. Exactly. That's what I was kind of trying to get at earlier, but as per usual, you can very gracefully state it, whereas I cannot.
It's that human willpower in general, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like where that ambition comes from.
Yeah, and it's something I also like to point out is that these are both leaders, and Meruem is not oblivious to that fact. He knows that Netero is like a leader in some form. He probably doesn't. I don't think he knows what the Hunter Association is, but he definitely does know that Netero is a king. How he would view a king.
Yeah.
And he in ways he's learning what it could mean to be a king from Netero. But never mind. my thought is completely unformed. I'll just drop it.
Well, maybe insert name will describe it for you as always.
Yeah, let's thank you. Let's see. Netero as the strongest is a particularly interesting aspect to this character. What a creator chooses to be the representation strongest typically reflects some aspect of the story in a significant way, or at the very least, the priorities of the series. Hunter x Hunter has always had an interesting relationship with strength. The premier early Nen fight is Kurapika versus Uvogin. In this, we see a muscular superhuman in the Saiyan style of fighter go up against a much weaker, almost effeminate fighter. Very effeminate, I will say. Not almost.
No, very.
It demonstrates a triumph of planning, intelligence, and resolve over mere physical strength. And for much of the series, that's what the story is about. It's not a coincidence in the very same arc Netero appears in, we have an extended moral lesson by Moral about how any Nen user should fight to win no matter what, or no matter the opponent, and the reinforcement that with clever planning and abilities, any Nen user can take out someone above them. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Hunter x Hunter is about resolve and the mind. The Chimera Ant arc is at its smartest and most complex. Togashi takes the gloves off and provides some of the most intricate and tricky abilities in the entire series. It's a continual demonstration of brain over brawn. Until all of a sudden, Netero shows up. And we see what true transcendence looks like. Power has always mattered in Hunter x Hunter. Killua was wrong to think he couldn't do anything against stronger opponents, but he wasn't wrong that strength mattered. It's just that strength is not the sole determinant. But what does it take to make it the sole determinant? To design ability that does make it the sole determinant. Right, yeah, well put.
Yeah.
One so powerful that even trying to engage is a mistake. It represents an incredible display of will, the true commodity of Hunter x Hunter power. Netero's ability is simplicity incarnate, but its efficacy is such that it showcases the insane dedication far more effective than a complex one. And through it, we see his will.
Yeah.
Hell yeah.
Very, very well put. Yeah, that is arguably one of the simplest Nen abilities in the entire series. Netero's. But it's stupidly strong still. And that would kill 90% of the people in Hunter x Hunter's universe.
Yep.
That just goes to show how much he believed in just that, that simplicity almost. Just like, he loved martial arts that much and he just kind of made it his whole thing. But like, that was enough. Because Netero is that guy.
He is that guy.
Yeah.
Netero, and also I just want to say real quick, this is just a perfect encapsulation of Nen as a whole. It's just such a cool. It's the best. It is my favorite power system ever. It's just such a cool way. Like you learn so much about a character from just knowing their ability.
Yeah.
And that's really rare in a series. So Netero's relative absence is another part of his story I love. I think it's really interesting that the two powerhouses of the arc, Gon and Netero, similarly are sidelined for the majority of the arc, given time to the rest of the cast. But all the while, tension builds in anticipation for their action before exploding in deeply symbolic and tense action scenes. Yeah, those two characters are actually used very similarly in that arc. I'd never really thought about that before.
There's a parallel between the two, for sure. That being between Netero, Miriam, and Pito Gon, right?
Yeah.
But used very, very similarly. But, like you said, the tension kind of builds throughout the time that they're not used. And it goes to shit when they are on display. Oh, man, does this power beat everything in those moments, right? For sure.
Yeah.
Moving on with the second half of Insert Names comment. And even more so, I'm just a huge sucker for characters whose presence can be felt well beyond their presence. Yes, I'm a huge sucker for that as well. um, Characters whose symbolism, identity, and character are defined as much by how others act in their absence as much as when they are on screen. Netero's hands are all over the election arc. It is wonderful to see the way others perceive Netero, and characters like Pariston and Jing's perspective on what the man meant to them, as well as their perception of what he would want. His absence doesn't prevent him from being one of the most impactful characters of the arc, and I'd argue we learn just as much about him from the way the Zodiacs act in this and the following arc as we do when he is on screen. And that's not even mentioning how his identity reflects on his own son and Terror Sandwich. Yeah, actually, there's a lot of similarities between Serenich and Netero, as we've discussed in our chapter reviews, which seems like an eternity ago now.
It sure does. Yeah.
I would love to get back to that someday. But it's difficult to make any sweeping statements about an arc that's not finished, but Netero's perspective on the Dark Continent, I think, is one of the most interesting and fascinating aspects inferred in the current arc. Hearing that even with his strength he could not find a challenge is so interesting, but more importantly, the potential symbolism of a much weaker team thriving in the Dark Continent where he struggled fascinates me from a thematic standpoint.
I do want to jump in real quick here, actually, and just say that it's not that he couldn't find a challenge, it's that he couldn't find the challenge he wanted.
Yeah.
The things there are still absolutely ridiculous, and we can assume and infer by the way he has talked about it that he was fighting for his life there, but that's not what he was looking for. He wants a fight where he feels he can win, and what he was finding there is a bunch of fights that he cannot win.
Yeah. Yeah, that's a very good way of putting it there. And even if we were to assume that like he was having a cakewalk with even some of the Dark Continent stuff there, we have to keep in mind he's kind of like 10,000 levels above like every other hunter. So, right,
there's that too.
Except for maybe Jing, I guess. But, you know, basically the point is anybody else is going to struggle there, right? But Netero's whole issue was just a little bit more from within, I guess, than externally.
Yeah, it just wasn't his thing. Like the Dark Continent is not his kind of deal, and I mean it's also very clear because he did leave those 2 trips and came back and was just like, all right, we can't let people go here. Like,
yeah,
there's nothing for us here. This is not humanity's territory.
Yeah, good point. His lingering influence, his lasting effects on the story that are just so tangible and real. It makes the world feel more fleshed out and has complexity. Absolutely, yeah. Again, like we were talking about, his effects from the effects from his decisions, his presence, you know, when he was alive, his presence while he's dead. It's all still felt to this day, and he alone kind of makes the world feel bigger as a result. His influence is everywhere, including in the storytelling, like you were talking about. The panel where we see Netero's companions for the Dark Continent is one of the most hyped I've been in the series. Yeah, that was a great moment. I want to learn about how do you say that name? Oh my god.
It's probably Line or Lin. I don't know.
Restuve, something like that. I don't know.
Oh, that part doesn't really matter, but yeah.
Yeah, and Zig so bad. Yeah, we all want to know. I think.
Yeah, we do.
Maybe a flashback at some point. If Togashi ever gets there.
I hope so. Yep.
One thing I've always wondered is Netero says that he started praying at the peak of his powers when he thought there was no more to learn. Does that mean he was already the strongest member of the Shingen Ryu School of Kung Fu? I'd love to know about Netero's fighting style and strength before his prayer, and generally want to know more about the school. There's a lot there, and I have suspicions.
I'd be curious what your suspicions are, but yeah, I've always wondered that too. I have to imagine he was the top of the school there, or alternatively, he could have like hit a wall. Like he kept like maybe challenging the headmaster or just like his rivals at the school and losing. So he was like, "Damn, did I just hit my peak? Am I done? I can't get any stronger." And that's what led him to the mountains. You can interpret it in a multitude of ways.
Yeah, and the beauty of that ultimately is that we don't really know,
Yeah.
But
and I'm cool with that.
Yeah, I'm cool with that too. It helps make him a more fascinating character, just in general, right?
Mm-hmm.
Wondering where that stems from, but ultimately that not mattering because just the way he develops in general. But I do agree there is some intrigue there on my part for sure. But of course, Netero has always been the less complex member of a duality. He will always play second fiddle to the brilliant writing of Jed and his tragic story.
Jed, there it is. Thank you.
Jed.
Well,
I
you
said
had to bring it back around.
I said earlier we didn't discuss the last mission again, and here we are. Oh no. We've just finished this. I mean, a goody two shoes like Netero was always going to be simplistic and less nuanced compared to the brilliant revenge plot of the Shadow and the trend-setting power that is Own. He simply can't compete with that level of complex morality and originality.
You're so right. You really just can't compete. It's
oh my god.
Yeah, the evil. I forgot of the Evil Hunter Association too. Yeah, he's they're the yin and yang, guys. They're two halves of the same coin. You remember the visual imagery of the coin, guys? It's peak. It's peak.
Oh,
this is
so good. Oh my god. I hate the last
love Jed. That is the worst thing to ever come out of Hunter x Hunter.
I read Jed there, and like my brain was genuinely like confused for like 5 seconds because like I just pushed him out of my mind. It's like I'm not even a name worth remembering. And then I saw Caige's stupid smile come up, and I'm like, oh god, I remember now. Now I have to remember that Jed exists for like another week. Thanks.
Yeah, he'll fade again. Don't worry.
Yeah, in due time, I suppose.
The Shadow.
Man. Yeah, hey, if you want to learn about alternate universe Netero, go watch Last Mission or our review of the Last Mission.
Learn a lot about him. His heartbreaking. He'll tug at the heartstrings. His story with Jed and how he has to ultimately bring him down. His best friend in the world. Yeah, two halves of the same coin, guys. Don't forget it.
You'll care a lot by the end of it.
Yes.
But thank you for the comment. Insert name as always.
Yes. And coming up next, we have the other yapper, Weary Exile, coming in hot, who says, I'm about to make a name for myself here and make insert names Sama length. What? Sama, like insert name Sama. Okay. Yes. The possessive threw me off. Insert name Sama's comment length look small and cute.
Well, they're about the same length here, I think.
Yeah, you're about the same, so about neck and neck.
Yeah.
All right. Says, Netero is by far my favorite character. All right, here we go. Dick Rider, let's go.
Okay, yes, let's go.
This is what I want to see. Who steals the show every time he appears, being the true representation of an honored one or an enlightened one. Unlike those frauds people seem to, such as Gojo or Plotkuna,
Hop off my goats. Hop off my goats, man.
Yeah, come on.
Those are the best characters of that series.
Literally. Those are my two favorites. Except Maki. Anywho, the trajectory of his character, and you're a Yuta fan.
I didn't say who was top 3.
Okay, true. You're right.
That's Yuta. He belongs there.
Okay. Anywho, the trajectory of his character exploration is fascinating. As soon as the man appears, you immediately get the impression of a wise and whimsical rascal who is, in a sense, reminds you of old mentor figures like Gandalf, Dumbledore, and etc. Absolutely, yeah. He's definitely a Gandalf type guy. Mm-hmm. So now comes the time where I tell you that he is the exact opposite of that due to his selfish nature, malice, and general evil disposition.
That's where the nuance comes in. There we go.
That's right. But that is also not quite the truth, exactly. For quite a while, I've been I've seen enlightened readers trying to gaslight casuals into believing that Netero was this grand antagonist. Looking at you, New World Review. Oh shit! Call out.
That's a call out. Whoa.
Who is essentially responsible for a bunch of hunters' deaths? Couldn't care less about humanity, and there is only there for the love of the game of beating up strong opponents. That is. Who's reading him that way? Because I got beef. That is wild. That is not Netero. You're reading a different character.
That's interesting. I mean, like, that's clearly a part of his character, but that is not the only part of his character.
No,
that is very one-dimensional reading of his character, I think.
Yeah. It's really funny how there's two one-dimensional ways you can read Netero. You can either go all in on like evil bastard or like all in on like heroic savior of humanity.
Yeah, but he's
Like,
neither. Like
No, he's absolutely he's nuanced. There's things such as nuanced characters in media. They don't have to be black and white.
Exactly.
And that is an example of how to miss the point of a character and not be able to comprehend a story. 101. Total yap fest. Fair enough. First things first, as an absolute allusion to a Guanyin, whether it's his Hatsu or design, the theme of compassion is a core component of his character.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, exactly. And that, I think, really, you're about to talk about this more, but I have to say that, really, that compassion, I think that's what everybody should take out of Netero. That's the thing. It's compassion. Whether it be misplaced or not, Netero's essence is compassion. Mm-hmm. Just saying. And that, as well as an obvious and even directly mentioned connection to yin and yang symbols, is a key to understanding him, his role in the story, and his actions. Whether it's Taoism, Chinese philosophy, or even a common literary trope nowadays, yin and yang symbols together represent the perpetual connection of the opposites in perfect harmony, which makes everything in existence whole. Beautiful. To simplify this word salad, it seems that both light and darkness coexist within Netero in a perfect balance, making him truly the enlightened character. Thank you.
Yeah.
Beautiful.
There you go.
Beautiful. And you're bringing back all my hatred for Last Mission again, because now I'm being reminded exactly why I hate the messaging of that movie so much, because it does what fans do. It paints him as this one-sided, like, oh man, Netero's God. I love this. He's so good. He's perfect, flawless human being. And Jed, he's the evil of all of it. He's the problem with humanity. Netero's both, guys. He's both. He's the both. Problem and the savior.
Yeah.
Oh my God, he's so good. I'm gonna start yapping about him all over again.
Hey, keep at it for sure.
Ed just walked on my keyboard and ruined everything. Hold on.
That's amazing.
Damn you, Ed.
It's been a while since you sabotaged the Hunter Association.
It really has been. He's in a mood today. Okay. I'm good enough. He changed some settings. I don't know what I'm looking at right now, but I can still see the comment.
Okay, if you say so. I'll have my dog working
later
too. Yeah, this is awesome.
Oh, great. The full moon's out.
Yeah. God damn it. We didn't wrap up in time. I'll mute it. It's fine.
And now the second clue is the obvious status as Bodhisattva. There are two most well-known interpretations associated with the word, with one describing a bodhisattva as an enlightened being who refuses to attain nirvana in order to help every other being to achieve it, or a being that is on the way to becoming a Buddha, aka someone who is free from the samsara circle and is helping the others to do the same. I don't know much about Buddhism, but I'm assuming that is a term. Samsara. I don't know what it means. In both cases, Bodhisattva is someone who transcends everyone around them, yet tries to uplift them all the same. Wow, how about that? With Netero doing exactly that. And to further prove my point, let's move from all this religious and philosophical mumbo-jumbo back to the plot. Who is Netero, and what roles does he play in the story? Tell us about it, Dylan.
I will. Not before explaining what the Samsara Circle is, which it's basically it's very much related to things like Buddhism and whatnot, obviously, right? But samsara is a word that basically means wandering, as well as world, wherein the term connotes cyclic change, or less formally, running around in circles. So basically freeing himself from a cycle.
Okay, cool.
Yeah. So yeah, who is Netero and what roles does he play in the story? Well, Netero is a former pupil of a dojo, a martial artist who becomes its head after achieving perfect balance and enlightenment in his grueling training, and then becomes the chairman of the Hunter x Hunter podcast, association. He would be a fire YouTuber, though.
I'd love to have him on the show, but he's dead, so...
Yeah, unfortunate. I feel like
also
Netero
not
would be,
real, but that's less important.
You know. I feel like he'd be one of those, like For better or for worse, he'd be one of those YouTubers that does like fake pranks and whatnot, or like pranks out in public.
Yeah.
I don't
Gone
know,
wild, gone sexual.
something about that just screams Netero to me. I don't know what it is.
Yeah, for sure.
Anyways, now here's where a lot of people think that the only reason why he would waste his time on training others or become a chairman is only to nurture and raise hunters / martial artists who would be able to pose a challenge for him. And they are not wrong, but they are only half right. Netero does indeed seek a strong opponent, yet he never wishes to conquer any nation or even the world, despite him absolutely being able to pull that off. Yeah, no doubt. He is not a stranger to kindness, and most importantly, he believes in the free opportunity for all. He is never seen preying on weak, quite the contrary. Hunter exam under his rule allows people of any background, gender, race, financial situation to take a test which, if passed, can change their life forever and make them stronger. But essentially just allowing them to follow their goals and ambitions, or at worst, kill you if you are unable to cooperate. Learn or to know when is the time to back down, which is what happens in the Hunter x Hunter world a lot, and a lot more than in the Hunter exam. Yeah, I mean, that's kind of what we were talking about earlier, right? Like, Netero ultimately doesn't really give a shit what you do with your hunter's license once you get it. It's just like, do you have the potential in order to, follow those ambitions in the first place, right? That's what he wants to see.
Yeah, and it's very evident that is truly his philosophy when you look at what the Hunter exams is under Cheadle's reign. Reign isn't the right way to put it, but under her leadership later. But under her leadership later. Because we don't get to see a lot of what the Hunter exam is during that, but it is so different. That much is at least apparent. It's much more like, I mean, granted, they did have ulterior motives for that specific Hunter exams. They were specifically trying to weed out a lot of insiders and spies and plants and whatnot.
Yeah.
But I feel like it's still pretty similar. Like they're being extra harsh. They're trying to find people that they will be hunters. Like, these are people that are here to become a hunter for reasons that only Cheadle approves of. And that's not at all what Netero's philosophy was.
No, and it shows in just that exam is just more formal in its setup and just very obviously trying to weed out the bad actors, so to speak, where Netero wouldn't give a shit, like we talked about, right? So very different for sure. Yeah. With tons of people being able to fail at some of the stages and be able to come back stronger or grow as a person, foster connection during the exam. Yet we seriously are going to condemn him for letting some participants die in the exam, even though it is precisely because of this outsourcing why strong and competent hunters were able to face different crises, including a Chimera Ant one, and come on top, literally saving humanity. Yeah.
So this is something that people are criticizing Netero for letting people die in the Hunter exams. I've never heard of this before, but if that's true, that's wild to me. I mean, being a hunter is a dangerous-ass job. Like, if you are going to try to become a hunter, you need to be able to lay down your life.
Yeah.
And that goes for the exam, too, man. This is a serious-ass job, and once you pass this one thing, you are a hunter. So, I get it. Make this deadly serious. This is a huge deal.
And it's telling him that the hunter exam is actual baby mode compared to the horrors that exist out in the hunter world,
Yeah, dude.
If you can't deal with that, if you die in the hunter exam, you weren't gonna last much longer anyways,
No. Exactly, yeah.
Even some of the people who passed the first hunter exam that we saw, people like Pokal, right? Ultimately they kind of suffered a similar fate despite even having that potential. So I don't know.
That's right.
It's kind of on the examinee in my eyes, but
I agree.
Yeah. It's all on them. They signed up for it. With people throwing shade at him for giving the Oreo and Bodura the least amount of chances to to advance the Oreo. The least amount of chances to advance in the final stage of the exam. Only because of them being weak. They forget that Killua and his brother Ilumi, Gitaraka at the time, had less opportunities in the last exam than Gon, Kurapika, Pokal, for God's sake, despite being multitudes more powerful. So was it always just about strength? No. What has always constituted What has always constituted a great hunter was will, drive, ambition, and ability to act on them, with all these things being the reason Netero managed to achieve what he has. Yes, exactly. That's exactly what we were getting at earlier. Rewarding others for sharing those traits, like giving multiple tries to Gon, or giving him extra hours of sleep after he, creates foreshadow ball game. Was it the ball game? Yeah. Sorry, I don't know how to read that sentence.
Well, I'm not sure what that was. Yeah.
Yeah. Sorry. Or giving less chances to someone who was coattailing on the abilities of others, like Leorio self-admittedly did. Yeah. You hit the nail on the head there, for sure.
For sure. Yeah, this whole comment was defending a point that I didn't know existed, but countering a point I didn't know existed. But still, yeah, you make some damn good counter arguments for sure.
I'm sure if you scroll through the Hunter x Hunter subreddit that you'll find a take like
I'm
this.
sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No doubt in my mind.
Point being, though, if there are any doubters, and maybe, in our own discussion, we didn't make this as clear, because to be honest, I kind of just thought it was an obvious fact about Netero, but he's a very nuanced character. He is not a one-dimensional, one-note thing. He is not some savior. And I know, we did say, literally, he is, you can see him as, like, the pinnacle of humanity when we were talking about him earlier. And I still believe that. Like, you can see him that way. Because he's not... He is humanity. In essence, he is the complete package of what a human being is and can be.
Being the pinnacle of humanity, as you're putting it, doesn't necessarily constitute being like what humanity should strive to become. It's rather just like what humanity just is at its peak, right? That includes the good, that includes the bad. It's all about that innate like ambition and willpower and drive, as you were putting it, that kind of brings about someone like Netero, right? Someone who gave their all into like one specific thing, or what they wanted to achieve in their life, and went all in on it. That's what it means to be the pinnacle of humanity there, and I really appreciate that out of him. But that's why it's not black and white like apparently this take exists for. Yeah, I don't know any other way to put it.
Yeah, he's the GOAT. He's a nuanced GOAT.
Yes.
And, if you can't wrap your head around that, then shame on you.
Mm-hmm. But good comment all around.
Very good comment. Thank you. So next we have a comment from Magitech, who wanted to submit their comment about the last 99 episode we did also, but we're going to save that for the top of the comments on the next 99 episode, so next week. But we will read their comment about Netero that they also included here. Mm-hmm. Yeah, so... Magitech says, about Netero specifically, it's hard to talk about Netero without mentioning the Chimera Ant arc, if not downright impossible. I would say it's impossible, yeah. I don't see how you could just talk about, like, Hunter exams Netero and have, like, a thorough discussion about him. The thing is, the whole arc does feel like a dark satire of Dragon Ball Z, and I'm not saying it because of Meruem's design. Yeah, well, there is that. But Netero, too. For me, he feels like an amalgamation of different Dragon Ball characters' traits. Oh, so this is a comment for me. Let's see here.
Yeah, I'm out of this.
He's like Goku, obsessed with growing stronger, driven by confronting others more powerful than him. He's like Vegeta. He is prideful, not just in himself, but on his entire species, believing us the strongest race there is. Don't entirely agree with that, but sure. He's like Roshi, and yeah, I mean he's definitely a lot like Roshi. And yes, he has a playful.
I've watched Dragon Ball. I see that much for sure.
Yeah, he's very much inspired by Roshi. And yes, he has a playful trickster side to himself, probably the side we see the most often. Yeah. And yet, no one would dare call him derivative or a copy of any of them. He's a fully fleshed out character and a dark exploration of all elements through a grimmer lens. A champion of humanity for good and for bad. Wow, how about that line? Look at that. That's it. That's exactly what I was just saying.
There it is. That's
you literally said it, yeah.
Sums up this entire episode for us.
There you go. Good job, Magitech. You did it. Yeah. For better or for worse, Netero is the pinnacle of humanity. Straight up. He just is. And yeah, I the only thing I don't think Netero believes. Well, you are kind of right. He does believe humanity to be the superior species, at least
in a sense. He's right. Yeah.
Yeah, but there is also some nuance to that opinion as well. I mean, he he definitely, okay, maybe misplaced pride is maybe how I would say it, because it is there, but maybe in the wrong aspects of humanity.
Yeah, I can agree with that.
But yeah, great comment. Totally right. You summed it up. Nice job.
Thank you.
And we will read the rest of your comment next week.
Yes, we will. Don't worry about that.
Yeah.
But yeah, that wraps it up for community comments this week. I'll give you the usual reminder as well at the end here. If you want to get in on the discussion for any given topic week to week, make sure you keep an eye out for our YouTube community posts, as well as the call-out posts on Twitter and Bluesky. And of course, you can always email us your thoughts at hunterassociationpod@gmail.com.
That's right. And with that, this has been the Hunter Association. Thank you so much for listening. We are available on all major podcasting platforms, as well as YouTube for the video version. Be sure to follow, rate, review, and comment on Spotify and Apple Podcasts. If you're watching on YouTube, make sure to like, comment, and subscribe. You can also follow us on Twitter at TXHXAPod, as well as Bluesky at THAPod for updates on the show and as an alternative way to submit responses to the weekly call-out posts. As always, we'll be here the same time every week talking about Hunter x Hunter. Dylan, where can people find you online?
You can find me online at DJ Tengen. That's DJTENGEN on Twitter and Bluesky. I'm still playing the One Piece trading card game. You can find me yapping about it on Twitter mainly right now. So yeah, go follow me on those.
Hell yeah, and you can find me on Bluesky at Manga Kaige. Also on YouTube now. Check out my channel, Manga
Please
Kaige.
do. It's made great videos so far. I think you guys would like it.
Thank you. Yeah. Not a lot of Hunter x Hunter talk yet. I talk about it a little bit in the collection video I just uploaded, but you have a whole podcast to listen to me talk about Hunter x Hunter. So, but
I'm sure it'll come up on your channel eventually.
Oh yeah. I actually did just record a video where I talk about it pretty extensively. That's not up yet, though. But
hey, you guys should subscribe to his channel. Keep an eye on it.
Yeah, so you don't miss it.
There you go.
There you go. Yeah, so for the show next week, we are going to continue Hunter x Hunter 1999 with episodes 28 to 30, which I believe will finish up the Hunter exams.
Yeah, and nearing the end at least. So
yeah. And then I think it will finish it up, and then the next batch will be the Zoldyck.
Yeah, the Killua side quest.
I think. I could be wrong, and it'll extend into all of these episodes, but we'll see.
Either way, we are inching closer and closer to Heaven's Arena. So.
Yeah, I'm excited. Nen is coming.
Nen is coming, guys.
And a different kind of Nen is coming. Nen Impact, that is, because coming up on the week that game comes out, we of course will be doing an episode all about it. So. Get excited for that. Get the game. Get your thoughts ready. And that's going to be a really good episode. I'm excited for that one. We'll be talking about new Hunter x Hunter content.
Yeah, new Hunter. Yeah, it's kind of wild to think about, right? It's first drop in a little while.
Yeah.
But, even if you don't end up buying the game, tune into that discussion. We'll be talking about it as much as we can from a review perspective and just how much we're enjoying it. So if you're even curious about the game, I'm sure we'll have a lot to say on that front. So keep an eye out for that episode.
Absolutely. All right. So yeah, we'll see you next week for 99, episodes 28 to 30. Watch along if you want to. Community posts will be out later this week. And we'll see you guys then for that one. See you later.
Yep. Later, guys. Have a good one.